Good morning. I'm Warren Buffett. This is Charlie Munger. I'm the young one. You may notice in the movie, incidentally, that Charlie is always the one that gets the girl. And he has one explanation for that, but I think mine is more accurate. That, as you know, every mother in this country tells her daughter at an early age, if you're choosing between two very old and very rich guys, pick the one that's older. Actually, we have one surprise guest. I think my youngest great-grandchild, who would be about 7 months old, is also here today. And if he happens to break out crying a lot, and don't let it bother you, it's just his mother is explaining to him my views on inherited wealth. I guess my message about inherited wealth is getting delivered here. Kid probably wants to put himself up for adoption now. You want to explain how it helps us, Charlie?
Well, if you're being attacked by people you regard as evil and destructive and so on, and you want a strong ally, how many people would you pick in preference to Berkshire?
My name is Warren Buffett, and I approve of that message. You have any more comments on that, Charlie? You've seen a lot.
I've made all the enemies I can afford at the moment.
Okay. That's never slowed them down in the past. I made a bet a long time ago on a mental one on the Geico model versus the Progressive model, and as I say, they were significantly ahead of us in volume a few years back, and we passed them, and we passed Allstate, and as I put in the annual report, I hope on my 100th birthday that the Geico people announced to me that they passed State Farm, but I have to do my share on that too by getting to 100, so we'll see what happens on that particular one. Charlie?
Well, I don't think it's a tragedy that some competitor got a little better ratio from one period. Geico's quadrupled its market share since we bought all of it.
Quintupled, yeah.
Quintupled, all right. I don't think we should worry about the fact that somebody else had a good quarter.
I think it's far more sure that Geico will pass State Farm someday than that I'll make it to 100, I'll put it that way. Incidentally, a friend of mine, R.J. Miller, a remarkable man, born about 100 miles from here, west, eighth child, near Shelby, Nebraska. He said Shelby's population was 596 and it never changed because every time some girl had a baby, a guy had to leave town. It was a very stable. But R.J. went on to be president of Ford Motor Company from this farm near Shelby, and he had his 100th birthday on March 4th of this year. So I went out to see R.J. for his birthday on March 4th, and R.J. told me that there were 10,000 men in the United States that had lived to be 100 or greater, and there were 45,000 women that were 100 or greater. So I came back and I checked that on the internet. I went to the census figures, and sure enough, that is the ratio. There's 10,000 men over 100 roughly and 45,000 women. So if you really want to improve your longevity prospects, I mean, a guy in my position, you have a sex change. I mean, you're 4.5 times more likely to get to be 100. That sounds like one of those studies that people put out. It's just a matter of fact, folks. Anything you have seen in our investment transactions, some of the securities you mentioned there were bought by Todd or Ted, and one was bought by me. But neither they nor I bought those, or if we sell them based on commodity price predictions. We don't know how to do it. And we're thinking about other things when we make those decisions. Charlie?
I'm even more ignorant than you are.
Well, that'd be hard to be. Okay. I think that's the first time I've heard him say that. It has a nice ring to it.
My question is about the future of salesmanship in our companies. Warren, you have always demonstrated a heart for direct selling. When we met you in the midst of a tornado warning in the barber shop, you immediately offered to write insurance for us.
That's true.
Now,
They were all huddled down there in the barber shop, and there wasn't going to be any tornado, so I told them if they give me $1, they can go upstairs, and if anything happened to them, I'd pay them, I forget, $1 million or something of the sort. American business has been good enough that you don't have to really be smart to get a decent result. And if you can bring a little bit of intellect, then you should get a pretty good result.
What you got to do is be aversive to the standard stupidities. If you just keep those out, you don't have to be smart.
Thank God.
Yeah, thank God. Right.
Actually, one time the woman that does clean my office came in, and I think she'd been kind of wondering what I did, based on. And I'd see her frequently, and her name was Ruby. And finally one day, she decided to really get to the heart of the matter. And she said, "Mr. Buffett, do you ever get any good horses?" Apparently thought this is where I was really making my money, was at the track. But really outstanding managers, they're invaluable, and we want to align. Charlie and I can't do it ourselves, but we want to align ourselves with them, and then have them feel about Berkshire the way we feel about it. And if we do that, we have an enormous asset, and we do have in Ajit and a number of the other managers. Charlie?
Yes, and Ajit has a longer shelf life than we do. He'd be particularly missed.
Well, let's not give up here, Charlie. I reject such defeatism. It already is a great store, but it's going to be something even far beyond that. We've opened up about 4 food places so far. We got 4 or 5 more in the works, and they're doing terrific volumes. I'm starting to sound like Donald Trump here, tremendous, terrific, fantastic, I've never seen anything like it. Charlie says that if you disagree with somebody, you ought to be able to state their case better than they can.
Absolutely.
And at that point, you've earned the right to disagree with them.
Otherwise, you should keep quiet. It would do wonders for our politics if everybody followed my system.
My grandfather was a little tough, however. Tell him what my grandfather used to do when he paid you on Saturday, Charlie.
Well, that was very interesting. Warren's a Democrat, but he came from different antecedents. I worked for his grandfather, Ernest, and he was earnest. And when they passed Social Security, which he disapproved of because he thought it reduced self-reliance, and he paid me $2 for 10 hours work. There was no minimum wage in those days on Saturday, and it was a hard 10 hours. At the end of the 10 hours, I came in, and he made me give him 2 pennies, which was my contribution to Social Security. And he gave me 2 $1 bills and a long lecture about the evils of Democrats and the welfare state and the lack of self-reliance, and it went on and on and on. So I had the right antecedents too. I had Ernest Buffett telling me what to do.
Mr. Buffett, in your annual shareholder letters and during interviews, and even today, your sense of humor always shines through. Where does your sense of humor come from? Please tell us. Thank you.
But it's just the way I see the world. It's a very interesting and in times very humorous place. And actually, I think Charlie has a better sense of humor than I have, so I'll let him answer where he got his.
I think if you see the world accurately, it's bound to be humorous because it's ridiculous.
Well, I think that's a good note to close on.